Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Kelly. Welcome to Be in the Change. I thought I would pop on today because President Trump declared today National Day of Prayer, and I didn't get to do what I normally do on my Sunday morning. And I thought I would share some of that with all of you. First of all, I want to let you know that I don't even want to shower. I did today because I'm doing this video because I needed to look presentable. But one of the things, like, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I feel like things are being taken from me. I have chronic pain and my pain is worse. And it's very easy for me to focus on what I don't have and what I've lost instead of looking at everything that I do have. And I was wondering if anybody else is going through that, but I have to remember what I do have. And what I have is I have faith. I have a safe place to live. I have toilet paper. I have paper towels. I have cleaning supplies. I have electricity. And I have internet. And this is definitely a time where fear and anxiety is at the highest it's probably ever been, and it gets physical and it makes people sick. So what I'm learning how to do is how to deflect and how to spread some light and some joy instead of focusing on what I don't have. And so I recorded this video once already, and I thought it was amazing, and the volume in it wasn't right. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is if hearing about God or praying makes you uncomfortable. Me too. I used to never want to hear about it. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of history of my background. And if you have a beef with God, I did too. I didn't even know if there was one, actually. It's hard to have a beef with somebody you don't even know if they really exist. But if you have a beef with God, you already believe, by the way. So I went to Catholic school, and I heard about God all the time. And I grew up in a house where God was kind of used like Santa Claus. No, I don't even want to say Santa Claus. That's not a good analogy. But God, you're going to hell. You're going to be punished. All these concepts, misconcepts. And I was raised in a house where there was a spiritual disconnect. And I think this has existed for generations, and it wasn't just in my house. But so I got some misinformation. So the second time I went to rehab, there was a priest there, and he, was willing to talk to anybody who wanted to talk to him. And I didn't want to talk to him because I thought I was going to hell and that I was excommunicated from all the things that I did previous to getting to rehab twice. So I remember thinking, I don't think God would ever forgive me. And so the first time, I'm going to give you guys some experiences where I've had spiritual experiences and I actually felt God. So the first time was when I was sober for a little bit, but I was going into thrift drugs, which would now be considered like a CVS for everybody who doesn't remember thrift drugs, if there's young people watching this, which I hope so. But so I went into thrift drugs, and I gave the guy a $10 bill, and he gave me change for a 20, and I knew it. And I walked out of that store with change for a 20, and I got into the parking lot, and I was so pissed. I was pissed at God because I had to bring this money back in there, and I didn't want to. So I think that's the first time I really felt God, because I had a conscience, but I didn't want one, but I had one. So I remember that was kind of the first time. And then the second time was, You know, when I got pregnant with my son, Angelo, the entire time I was pregnant with him, I was worried, what if I had this baby and I felt nothing? I walked around for 9 months worried if anybody knew that I felt like this, they would take the baby from me and think I was a horrible person. So after I had my son, I did not feel connected to him until about 30 days after I had him. And honestly, you could have taken him from me in those first 30 days and I wouldn't have known it. I felt nothing. I was still numb. And what I didn't realize is I had a lot of PTSD from growing up and I didn't know it. But I learned how to leave my body and how to disconnect. And that kept me disconnected from myself, from God, and from other people. But I had to. It was how I survived. So 30 days after I had my son, I remember, oh my God, I just knew that I loved him. And it was the first time I believed that God loved me and that I was actually capable of love. And then I loved him so much. I felt his feelings and not my own. So that was like my second experience with God. And then my third experience that I remember, and these are all hindsight looking back, I went to the Karen Foundation for a spiritual retreat. And if anybody doesn't know what it is, it's a drug and alcohol rehab, but they have these spiritual retreats twice a year. It's in Warnersville, Pennsylvania, and I've been lucky enough to go for a long time. But the priest, first of all, he cursed during Mass, which is right up my alley. So we got a priest that cursed. They sing music that's on the radio now, current. And, you know, if church was like that, I would go. So I wish it was closer to my house, but it's not. But anyway, he asked, do you want to see God? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and we were in stadium seating. Look in front of you, look behind you, look to your left and look to your right, and there he is. And I'm like, oh my God, God is in people. And that was my connection, that was it. But it wasn't until I was sober for 23 years that I could actually feel a connection to God, that I could actually feel anything, because I think I had to walk around numb and disconnected just to survive. I think if anybody asked me before that if I wanted to see God, I could not hear them because I wasn't ready. So those were my three main times. And then I look back on my life now and you know, we went to church a couple of times, not a ton, but whenever we went, I thought I saw people there that their words did not match their actions. And I thought they were hypocrites. And I didn't want to go to a place where I saw hypocrites. And I hated peace be with you. I hated shaking strangers' hands. And every time I was in there, I couldn't wait to get out of there. So that was my experience with God and church. So it was not a place where I felt comfortable. And then some people would go at Christmas and Easter, and I didn't even want to go then because I didn't want to go to a place that I didn't normally go just because it was a holiday. So when I was growing up, we listened to Breakfast with the Beatles every Sunday with Helen Light. And that was our church. That was our religion. And I didn't realize that was our prayer, was music. And also, my dad used to do this thing with us called the angels. And he would say, what are you going to dream of? And I'd say, the angels. He'd say, what are you going to do? What are they going to do? And I'd say, dance and play. And he'd say, with who? And I'd say, with me and you. So we were praying, and I didn't even know it. And I was able to do that with my son. He never went to church, but we did pray because we did the angels, and I never knew I was praying. So I want to read to you guys something that I stole off of the internet about prayer. And it says, do you pray? I love this interpretation of prayer. What is a prayer? A prayer doesn't always happen when we kneel or put our hands together and focus and expect things from God. Thinking positive and wishing good for others is a prayer. When you hug a friend, that's a prayer. When you cook something to nourish a family and friends, that is a prayer. When we send off our near and dear ones and say, drive safely or be safe, that's a prayer. When you are helping someone in need by giving your time and energy, you are praying. When you forgive someone by your heart, that is a prayer. Prayer is a vibration, a feeling, a thought. Prayer is the voice of love, friendship, genuine relationships. Prayer is an expression of your silent being. Keep praying always. If hearing about God or praying makes you super uncomfortable, I used to be like that too. If you ever told me I would talk out loud about God to anyone, I would tell you you were crazy. I think I am crazy, by the way. But anyway, I just feel like in these times of darkness that if I can be some form of light, that I need to do that. And I want everybody to know out there that this time we are being given the gift of time. And, you know, I took so much for granted and didn't even know it. And I think now, instead of saying, I got to go to work, you are going to get to go to work, and you are going to get to go to church, and you are going to get to go to the park. And I think this is what we've lost sight of, and it has affected the entire world, that we are being forced to slow down or it'll make you sick, and it is making us sick. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who is taking care of all of the sickness right now and working in the grocery stores and working in all of the stores and putting your life second to everybody else's. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And if you have a beef with God, it's okay. I had one with him too. And if you feel like giving him the Italian salute right now, you're still praying. He's got big shoulders and he can handle it. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this if you think this would help anybody else. And thanks again for being on this journey with me. And I will see you guys all soon. So stay tuned.